Hi, I'm Jackie Jones of Jones & Associates Law PC, and today I'm talking to you about some difficult topics, specifically estate planning, and we are using the framework of two notable celebrities who recently passed away from complications involving a stroke. Luke Perry, who perished just a few weeks ago, and John Singleton, who passed away yesterday. Now, if you are a 40-something-year-old person, woman especially, and Lord knows black woman like I am, you are probably in a deep state of shock right now. Not only because these young men are, and I say young, they're young because they're just a little bit older than we are, but also because they framed so much of our childhood. If you're like me, you grew up watching Beverly Hills 90210, and Dylan McKay was the heartthrob. That's right. Luke Perry is Dylan McKay, who had a stroke a few more short weeks ago at the age of 52, and shortly thereafter succumbed and passed away. Was a very, very well-known figure to all of us. And if you also were like me and you grew up in the Boys in the Hood era, and I know they keep mentioning Cuba Gooding Jr. and Ice Cube in his first role, but I mean, Morris Chestnut, was Ricky in that? Morris Chestnut, who is still a star? Not to mention some of you who only know him as the father on Blackish, Lawrence Fishburne, who has been a star for decades, also played a pivotal role in that. And Regina King, the Queen, was also in Boys in the Hood. So these are people, John Singleton was the director of that movie, Boys in the Hood. So these are people we grew up with who were not much older than us, but who made their mark in the celebrity world in a way that was really, really seminal and important in our childhood. But their approaches to estate planning can teach us a lot. First and foremost, they are not at the age where people expect to die. 51, 52, no one is expecting to die at that age. And so whether or not they were ready with their estate plan says a lot about who they were and what they valued and what advice they were given by their respective advisors, including lawyers and attorneys and business people whose job it was to protect them. So let's start with both of them suffered a stroke, and both of them lingered a little bit after the stroke. And that reminds me of when people come to my office and they ask for a will. Now, I say they come in for estate planning, but they don't come in for estate planning. They come in asking for a will. And I say that because one of the conversations that I often have with them is, you understand that medicine has done so much over the course of the last several decades, and that most people don't just up and die. Yes, I say that to people. Most people don't just up and die. And I know that sounds kind of strange because they're like, huh? Well, if you have only planned your will, you have probably not done enough. And these two incidents show you that. One, because both of them had a stroke. They were incapacitated. They could not make decisions, but they had business dealings and things that had to be taken care of in that time period prior to their death. That's what I do. I drink and I know things. And today I'm knowing things just like Tyrion Lannister. Game of Thrones. You can call me Khaleesi, Arya Stark. That's my new name from now on. So at any rate, what happens is that people will go into situations where they become incapacitated. And as a result of being incapacitated, they can't make business decisions. They can't make financial decisions. They can't do things that really need to be done to care for their estates. Things like paying employees, and you may need those, paying mortgages, taking care of business, making sure insurances are up to date, because obviously you don't want someone to lose their insurance while they're suffering in the hospital. Luke Perry, I didn't hear any peep of that coming out of him. We knew he had a girlfriend he was not married to. He had children, adult and minors. He had an ex-wife who was still involved, especially as it related to the children. And we didn't hear a peep of mess about who was making decisions. But John Singleton's situation was a perfect example of when you go to get a will, when you really need an estate plan. So I'm going to have a rant right now. It's a rant, as the young people say, ISSA. It's a rant. Your estate plan needs to be more than, I need a will. Why? Because as I say, people linger. And one of the things that happened while John Singleton was not even off of life support. You remember they were saying he was in a medically induced coma, and I guess we later found out he must have been on life support because they had to pull a plug yesterday. So there's a lot we didn't know. And I don't watch a lot of TMZ, so I really didn't know. So what happened was his mother and his daughter were going to court to fight over who got to control what was going on in his estate while he was in this coma. His mother is primarily his business manager. She was saying he's not going to make it. His daughter was saying, my dad is responding and he's doing better every day. And, he's going to, he's noticing he's able to do some things and she's just after his money. Well, the truth of the matter is that should never have happened because someone should be in charge. Someone should be able to make decisions. And in this case, if you don't have something like a power of attorney, there's no one to make those decisions. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of people also come to me when they say, I'm sorry, I'm just getting more comfortable because this rant is going to go on. Some people come to me and they say they want a living will. Well, a living will, especially in the state of Pennsylvania, tells the doctors what things to do and not to do, meaning, can we have life support? Should we do this? Should we do a feeding tube? Should we do that? But it does not say what happens if you're in a malingering state for a long period of time. It does not say who can pay your bills. It does not say who handles your business affairs. So a living will, while that may be your choice for some reason, it's not mine. I usually prefer to have a person make a decision. But it will not be good enough to determine what happens with your stuff. Now, I know that if my dad is laying in a medically induced coma or on life support or whatever, any of those things, what I do not want to do is be in court with my stepmother fighting over which of us gets to make decisions about his considerable estate. I can't even say the straight face. My dad has no considerable estate. But again, I don't want us to be fighting over that. It should never happen. These are decisions that especially if you have big business decisions and other people's income is dependent upon your business, you need to have someone who is ready and able and next in command to make decisions and make sure things are happening, make sure people are getting paid. Now, when someone dies, there is usually a provision to open an estate to go through the probate process. And in that place, the court determines who is in charge, whether it be a will or whether there's someone who's appointed. But unless you have a power of attorney for medical purposes or for other purposes or business purposes, there is no one that's set to make medical decisions for you or no one set to make business decisions for you. And when those decisions cannot be made in an appropriate manner, your whole situation can fall apart and other people's lives can as well. So this is really, really important. Now, I don't know if John Singleton had a will yet. We will find out, I'm sure. But this rash of people where fighting is going on, we're like, Prince, where's your will, buddy? You know how much you have, and you know how you were real particular. Rest in peace, Purple One. You were real particular about your music, and now you got people just out here putting out stuff that you know you would have never put out because it wasn't good enough for you, and that's why it was in the vault. That's why you need to have your stuff all together. And it's not fun, it's not interesting, and quite frankly, I need to update all of my documents as well because I don't want the wrong person raising my kids. After all the work I put in, telling them dumb stuff and ruining. So I got to get on this too. But when you get to an attorney, there should be telling you that there is more to your estate planning than just a will. It's important to know. Because we need to be talking about what happens near end of life and not just end of life. We need to be talking about what happens when there's incapacity and not just when there's death. We need to be realistic about how most people transition. And people transition where they go through a period of time where they are just less and less capable of making certain decisions. And they're not able to do it because I don't know how to make the sound go away on my computer. It's bad. But what we need to be doing is we need to be thinking about the best ways possible to make end-of-life decisions for people, to allow people to transition, to make life better for those who are left behind. It's important. It's important, and it's not sexy, it's not glamorous, it's not fun to think about. But as we see how big the stakes are, how we see how things play out, do you want your family to be in a situation like that where they are both grieving and fighting? No. Now, obviously, there are state and intestate laws, meaning what does the state determine happens if you pass away with no will? Well, in most of those cases, they're going to go to your kids, not to your parents. Because, it's kind of like, who are the people that you're meant to protect next? If there's no spouse, your children are usually next in line. As you're an adult, you realize that, because what happens is, right now, when I'm young, or right now when my kids are young, it's like, yeah, you expect your parents to kind of fix things and do things if something happens to me. But once your children are adults, your parents are at that point pretty senior, and the kind of burden shifts where you expect the children to be taking care of the parents and the grandparents and those sort of things. So you really want to make sure that whatever is going to happen with your money, your house, your things, that you decided, and you don't leave it up to the courts, and you don't leave it up to squabbling people to make that decision. So if you have questions about this, you can be sure to hit me up at Jones & Associates Law, PC. My email address is jones@mychesterlawyer.com. You can reach me at 610-874-1900. You can check out our YouTube page, our Facebook page, our Pinterest page, our Twitter page, or our Instagram. We got it. But at any rate, protect your family like their lives depend on it, because they do. They love you. And when you're gone, they shouldn't have to fight and try to figure out what your wishes were. You need to tell them. You need to make it easy. You need to plan. And the estate plan is not just a will. Give us a call. Thanks.